Hey guys, well, let's power through it. We're gonna start with our stretches and then we'll get into it. Big hand in the face. I now anymore I'm using the clock at the top more often. I should get back to the other one. It's sloppy. I forget my counts when I'm up there. But yeah, it's doing pretty good. I think because last time we met up, I had Cray on here, so we only kind of bounced off of the current PT progression. But went in last time and they said, let me look at the scar here. And they said, oh, looking good. I don't know if you can really see it on there. Looks a little more red in there but a little red here because I was scratching at it the other day when I wrapped it up. I think I had some like sweat trapped in the wrap, sweat and salt and stuff, and it didn't feel good once it was wrapped. It's weird. I can't like see the phone display very well. Let me just turn the light up and it'll be fine. Yeah, I went in. They said, "Oh, scar's looking good." I said, "Yeah, I wrapped it up. I have to wrap it when I put it in the brace. So I wrap it when I go to bed, and it got really itchy. And I tried not to scratch it, but it's a little red." And they're like, "Well, honestly, at this point, the next step, anyway, is that we're gonna have you not wear the brace anymore at all." Like, oh, okay. And so I got to sleep without it last night, and it didn't worry me. I'm also, I think, free of the deep vein thrombosis leg mana pads. They're like big inflatable arm cuffs that you wear on your calves that pump your legs all night long, so you don't get a blood clot coming out of your leg up to you, up in the upper part, killing you. So good. And yeah, so no more of those pads and no more brace at night means like almost like normal bedtimes again instead of like the crazy times that it's been for 5 weeks, which is pretty quick. I guess I should just like count my blessings or whatever. That's sort of the story that came out the other day where they were like, "You're doing really well for a 45-year-old guy," and I was like, "Oh, I just thought I was doing well, not because I was 45." And you're doing well, and you're 45. And so I was at Big Five, and there was a 50-pound weight that you would put on like a bench press, and I thought, I used to be able to curl one of these with my arms. You just curl it, bicep curl it. So I grabbed it. It had a little hole in it, so it was sort of hanging off. I'm holding the top of it like that, holding it with my palm up in the left hand, and I'm trying to curl it, and I'm like, oh man, this thing is heavy. This wouldn't have been a challenge 2 months ago, or it would have been heavy, but not like insanity. And so I used my right hand to guide it, not help it, not stress the right hand, but I didn't want the thing to be out of control. And handling it with the right hand, I was like, oh, my right hand arm is weak and needs to recover. I get it now. The other part of going in was that they said starting next week when we're at the physical therapist, there'll be no restrictions on resistance. Up till now, we're being very careful to use less. This is a 4 pound. We don't use much more than 5 pounds for much things there. Although if you put 5 pounds out and swing it, it's like feels a lot heavier than when it's like right here, little things like that. So restriction coming off next week means we're gonna like really do some ass kickers, I assume. We're already doing new exercises. We're doing a lot of resistance with like rubber bands, essentially elastic bands. And some of them can be a real challenge, and some of them are like, well, yeah. But because they're rubber bands, they're safer because you pull them as you pull them, the resistance gets higher and higher until you're like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Instead of like, this is so heavy, and then, oh no. Just powering through these. So we went through like variations of what we would do in the upcoming week. We're prepping for them, but with lighter resistance. So it's going to be a real ass kicker next week. Which I've been looking forward to it so long that it's almost has that like mental effect where it's like intimidating when it's here. That now it's time to put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. Because sometimes, even with a lightweight, arm gets tired faster than I would think. I wonder what those thumps sound like on the video. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, that's a 4-pound weight, and towards the end of it, it gets kind of hard to do it. I have like a different reaction mentally when it's like heavy at first and becomes impossible versus fairly light at first and then difficult. Like I like when it's like, oh, this is a challenge, and then you're like, God, I can't even do it towards the end. You know, that's really cool. Cray and I did a video here last night, and then we also recorded one after that we're debating whether to put out. It's an 1.5 hour long discussion about the meanings and philosophies behind a song that he'd been hearing. So he was like, can we put this on and talk about it? Well, absolutely. I mean, you can talk to me about just about anything. And so we did, and we watched the song, and we paused it from time to time to talk about things. I have nitpicks. I think we should have like watched the video all the way through, maybe even before we watched it, but we want that reaction, want that raw reaction, you know, on my part at least. So we were watching it. I think sometimes it's important to let the song play through and not like stop it and nitpick what you're hearing. Other than if you're just playing the song to bring up topics to discuss. He's talking about this. He's talking about politics in these categories. If it's more of a springboard, if it's almost like a minutes of a meeting in order to prompt discussion, then sure. But I want the song to be allowed to be a song and be played through and heard as a song, and then maybe played and listened to a little more critically. And then the thing we end up doing, grabbing a set of lyrics and translating it. Garbage? Throwing out the garbage?
Yeah, I'm taking it with me.
All right.
I'm going to post a letter.
Okay. We're down to our last 2 things here. But yeah, we went line by line. Found some interesting things there. Each of us had found a different source for lyrics. I think I searched Bing and he searched Google. It's about the only difference there. And so I was on, something lyrics genius, and he was on like lyrics info. His was a lot cooler because people could put annotations on it and say what they think things mean and stuff, which then became, of course, a platform for people to argue about the meanings and what a guy, even what he's thinking there. He's an idiot when he says this. Like, great. So more functionally for between Cray and I, the problem was that one of them had just different lyrics. It was missing a word at one point, so it was like the sentence didn't even make much sense. You could guess what the intent was, but it was like, well, what they've written here is bad copy. If we're all fans of Orson Welles out there, we're losing our heads, fellas. But the thing is that the topics in the video that Cray and I recorded are based off of the topics in the song, which are maybe a little above and beyond what you would expect to find here on the channel, other than us like slowly grazing along, grazing not like cows, but deflecting, us brushing up against the certain topics more politically, instead of like just a video game thing where video game talk comes out and maybe there's a little bit of politics in there, but it's not. This was like, this song is political and we're talking about the song, so could be a little hotter than the channel normally gets. I like Cray's takes as a man who is conscientious and kind. I trust him to have people's care is at least in his heart at all. Like he worries about people. We should start worrying a little bit too much about things, and things can be causes that are causes for people to like fight for their rights. So it's like, it gets really complicated, right? But he gets worried for people. It's good. He may not have expected to have an hour and a half long conversation about a 4-minute song. So fair enough. He also knows that I talk and talk and talk. So he was probably a little warned there, huh, Cray? You're gonna be one of the people watching this, so I'm not talking at you. So I'm gonna have him review it as a whole, kind of like we did with the video. He's gonna listen to the video, and if there's anything in there that he thinks is just doesn't want to be associated with problematically, then we might not list the site, the video on the site. Perform a pain-free effort. My eyes just went to like one little like piece of advice on my little like bicep thing. We're almost done here, guys. One more set. But yeah, we might put the video up. Right now, I also had a friend of I had CD look it over, listen to it, and he thought it was fine. I didn't think anything was said that was dangerous, but agreed with the takes that like it might be beyond the scope of the channel kind of thing. Not that the channel doesn't have stuff on here that isn't like podcast style discussions in the past. They're on there. And this would be like that. So I don't know. We might put it up as a test, just to see. I don't think that in the end we're always just small potatoes. So we're just gonna list it and see what people say. As far as I know, unless Cray wants to veto it, it's been a thing in the past where people listen to themselves on podcast style material on the site and say, I don't like how I sounded on there. Oh, okay, fair. It could be unfair is that I definitely have the time and the investment to dig into a topic that's going to be discussed and thus sound more educated. I'm more informed. So I'll be informed on the topic, and the other person might be like, oh, I didn't know we were going that deep. It's like, well, go as deep as you want. It's hard for me to go less deep, kind of thing. But yeah, so hopefully we'll put it up. Let's call it here. All right, thanks, guys. See you soon.